Have you ever had a gut feeling and then immediately talked yourself out of it? That might not even be you. That might be something you were taught. And that is what we will talk about further in this video.
Narc Be Gone presents
Intuition.
Okay, so you know how in some movies, the lead female role is the only one who feels like something is off? Everything seems normal to everyone else, but she just knows something isn't right. Characters in the movie start dismissing her. You're overthinking. You're imagining things. And slowly, you start doubting her too as the audience watching. And just like that, her intuition goes from powerful to unreliable. Not because it is, but because the story made you see it that way. And this doesn't just stay in movies. It shows up in real life in ways that are a lot more subtle, but a lot more important. Think about how many times someone has said, I had a bad feeling about that person from the start. Maybe it's a new friend who seemed nice on the surface, but something about the way they spoke or the way they moved just didn't sit right. Or in relationships where everything looks perfect on paper, but there's this quiet discomfort you can't explain, and instead of listening to that feeling, you rationalize it. You tell yourself you're overthinking, that you're being too sensitive, that you need more evidence. But intuition doesn't always come with proof. It comes with patterns. Your brain is constantly picking up on micro behaviors, tone shifts, inconsistencies, things you don't consciously process right away. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for something obvious to happen before they trust what they already feel. You see this in business too. Someone might get an opportunity that looks amazing, good money, good connections, but something feels off in the way the deal is presented. Maybe the person is rushing them or avoiding certain questions. That hesitation, that pause, that's data. But because we're taught to prioritize logic over feeling, especially as women, that instinct gets pushed aside. And later, when things fall apart, the first thing people say is, I knew something wasn't right. Not I learned, but I knew. The knowledge was already there. So how do you actually start trusting yourself again? It starts with paying attention to your first reaction, not the one you think through, but the one you feel. That initial response is usually the most honest one, before doubt gets involved. Another thing is separating fear from intuition, because they can feel similar, but they're not the same. Fear is loud, panicky, and overwhelming. It pushes you into anxiety. Intuition is quieter. It's more like a steady nudge, a calm but persistent feeling that something isn't aligned. And this isn't just a one-time thing. It's a pattern. A pattern that shows up again and again in different ways, but always sends the same message. Don't trust her instincts. Let's break it down. Trope 1, the hysterical woman. This is probably the most obvious one. Take a quiet place. The mother is constantly on edge, alert, tense, hyper-aware, and yes, her world is dangerous. But notice how her fear is framed. It's intense, almost overwhelming. And in a lot of scenes, that emotional intensity makes her seem like she's barely holding it together. Now compare that to how we usually view male characters in similar situations. Their alertness, it's seen as strength, but hers, it's seen as instability. Same behavior, completely different interpretation. Trope 2, gaslighting as a plot device. This one is quieter, but way more powerful. It's when the woman senses something, but everyone around her denies it, over and over again, until she starts doubting herself. A softer example of this shows up in Legally Blonde. Elle Woods walks into Harvard Law, confident in who she is. She knows she belongs there. But what happens? People constantly undermine her. They don't take her seriously and question her intelligence. She's not crazy in the traditional sense, but she's made to feel like she doesn't belong. That's what gaslighting does. It doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes it's subtle, social, almost polite, but the effect is the same. It disconnects you from your own sense of truth. Trope 3, punishment for being right. And this one is the most dangerous because even when the woman is right, she still loses. Think about how often female characters sense danger early on, and they're correct, but by the time everyone else realizes it, she's already paid the price. Physically, emotionally, mentally. It's like the story is saying, yes, you were right, but look what happened to you. So what message does that send? That trusting yourself comes with consequences. That even if your intuition is correct, it might not be worth listening to. And when you see these patterns over and over again, the hysterical woman, the self-doubting woman, the punished woman, it starts to shape how you see things in real life. You hesitate, you second guess, you wait for proof instead of trusting your first instinct. But here's the truth. Your intuition was never the problem. Studies have shown that when it comes to intuition, women are often just as accurate, sometimes even more, than men, especially in situations that involve reading people or picking up on subtle environmental cues. The difference isn't really an ability, it's in how that intuition is perceived. When men trust their instincts, it's usually framed as logic, leadership, or decisiveness. But when women do the same, it's more likely to be labeled as emotional, irrational, or overreacting. And what's interesting is that one of the few times we actually see intuition being fully trusted in film is in Final Destination. But even then, it's not treated as intuition. It's treated as a premonition. The main character's warning is only taken seriously because it's extreme, almost supernatural. And even with that, the characters still question it at first. So it's like the only way instinct is allowed to be valid is if it's no longer human, no longer subtle, something dramatic, something undeniable. And even then, survival isn't guaranteed. Studies have also shown that women often perform just as well, if not better, when it comes to intuitive decision making, especially in situations that require quickly reading people or environments. In fact, a large percentage of women report having a strong sense of intuition, yet many still hesitate to act on it. And what's even more interesting is that gut feelings aren't random at all. Research suggests they're based on subconscious pattern recognition, meaning your brain is picking up on details before you're even fully aware of them. So when you constantly see women in films being portrayed as overreacting or irrational, it starts to clash with reality. Because in real life, that instinct is often not only valid, but also accurate. It was just never allowed to exist without being questioned. Your intuition isn't the problem. The conditioning is. So the next time something feels off, don't be so quick to silence it. Because that voice, it might be the most honest one you have.